What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and in this video I want to take a look at the Mazda RX-8 Pearl Edition, which will actually have to be bought from the store on, PlayStation and/or Xbox and PC. So in order to get this vehicle, you're going to have to buy this thing for $7.99 and/or $8. You will also get 45,000 crew credits with the vehicle as well, so I guess it's not that bad of a deal because you're technically getting the car for like $4, but regardless though, one thing I found very interesting about this is the fact that this car is going to be paid for. I did notice some of the community doesn't seem to be all that happy about some of the vehicles being available in the store, which honestly, I really can't blame you for that, but unfortunately, guys, one of the ways I look at this is the fact that the Motor Pass is now buyable in game, so they're probably looking at other ways to actually, fund the game and all that in the future, so they're probably going to start adding vehicle packs like this, and I really do feel like this RX-8 is pretty sweet, but the biggest question I have is this car actually worth $8? And well, for me, I really like to collect vehicles in these games, and I really do like the look of this car, but if you guys are familiar with one of the other Summit vehicles, you're probably going to notice this car is actually not new in a technical way because we have another Mazda called the Gold Edition that's actually the exact same thing right here. So this was an old Summit vehicle. I believe it came back 2 times, and one thing is the fact that the Gold Edition was also liked by a lot of the players in the community as well. Not only does this car look really good, but for some hilarious reason, it's going to be miles ahead of the regular RX-8. I really do love the way this car accelerates, and I was actually running this thing a good amount on summits, but I obviously did stop doing that because I feel bad kind of using summit reward vehicles to use in summits, because not every player is actually going to have these, but the Gold Edition is definitely an awesome car, and it could come back in the future if you guys did want it. So I wonder if that might be one of the reasons why they actually added the Pearl Edition. You guys will notice the similarities between the two vehicles, and you have that huge turbo sticking out of the hood. I really like the blue rims on this car though, plus the red going around it actually fits the white color very nicely, so I have to give it to them. I do think this car does look pretty sweet for the most part. I would really love to color the rims, and I'm going to keep saying that in many videos because Ubisoft really needs to give us that option, but I do think a lot of players are probably going to like this car because it's actually really nice, and I do like the overall design of this thing. The blue rims fit this thing really well, and I really do like the red going around it. I would say Ubisoft did a really good job with this vehicle. I have to admit it though, one thing I have been thinking about a little bit though is this car actually supposed to be a Summit car in the future? Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below because I feel like these starter vehicles probably could have been in the Summits and or new vehicles in the future or something they could have added maybe differently, but then again they have to have some way of actually making the money to continue the game and all that. But again, let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. I also found this kind of weird considering we have two vehicles from older Summits in this season as well, but nonetheless though, let's go do an outside look of the Mazda RX-8 Pearl Edition right now and do a quick look at that interior as well. I also want to take this vehicle on a quick top speed test. So now moving over to the outside look of the Mazda RX-8 Pearl Edition, I would say a lot of players are probably going to like this vehicle. I really am digging the overall design of this car, and if it was to come into a Summit or something, I think that Summit would probably be absolutely insane, but I really do think this thing is pretty sweet. Let's take a listen. Gotta love that sound of that rotary engine, but nonetheless though, here's the interior view of the Pearl Edition right now. I really do like the fact that the turbo actually sticks out of the hood and you can see it, but besides that I would say the interior of this vehicle is probably going to be kind of plain. I actually like it the way that it is. I do like the red going around with the stitching and all that. I also think the red on the actual dash there is probably not normal unless I'm probably tripping out, but regardless I would say the interior of this Mazda does look pretty dang sweet. But now besides all that, let's see what the top speed of the Mazda actually is. So one thing I have to admit by the way guys, I would say a lot of players are most likely going to pick up this car because for one, it's very similar to the Gold Edition and I really did find that to be one of my favorite street cars in the Crew 2. I really love the way that car sounded for some reason, plus having that big turbo sticking out of the hood. But not only that, we're also going to have really good handling and stability thrown in there as well, plus a pretty decent speed for the most part. But if you guys might have been wondering, the top speed of the Mazda here is actually going to be around 240 miles an hour, which I would say is probably going to be a little bit lower than some of the other cars in the game, but also it's probably going to be a little bit higher as well, so it's definitely going to be in the middle. I would say the Pearl Edition is going to easily be able to compete in summits and or using this thing in PvP. I would actually say this car is going to be that good because it was one of my favorite vehicles back in the day. I basically used the Gold Edition in pretty much many of the summits, and I was actually doing pretty dang good with it compared to some of the better cars as well, so I have a feeling the Pearl Edition here is probably going to be in the same category, even though you actually have to buy this car with real money. I would say this thing is going to be pretty sweet. So now jumping right into one of my favorite events in the entire game is going to be the Flashback Japan race. I did want to go over a very important topic in this race with this vehicle because I really do feel like many players are probably asking it. Is the Mazda RX-8 Pearl Edition going to be worth buying for the $8? And well, to be honest, guys, I would say it really is going to come down to the person on this one. I mean, this car is really awesome. Is it going to be the best street car in the entire game and basically destroy everything? That is definitely going to be a no. I would not say the RX-8 Pearl Edition is going to be insanely good like that, but one thing I have noticed with this car that I would say is going to be one of its biggest positives is most likely going to be the way this car handles. I mean, it is definitely really good. It grips very nicely, has great stability as well, and the overall speed on the car is actually not going to be all that bad, and I would say this thing could easily compete in summits and really not struggle. If you guys wanted to jump into like PvP, I think this car would be really good for that as well. Unfortunately, the only thing that's really going to hurt the Mazda is most likely going to be its top speed, which some of the cars are definitely going to have to be balanced in some way, but I'm sure many players are going to be wondering if this car is actually worth getting because, for one, you do actually have to buy the car for $8 as I did mention before, which is close to the price of an actual motor pass, and again, one thing I've really been thinking about a lot is this car supposed to actually be a summit reward vehicle? Definitely let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below because I have a feeling if Ubisoft does continue to go the route of actually being able to buy the motor pass with in-game money, which by the way I'm insanely happy to see that and I would love to see other games do the same thing. I also do have a feeling Ubisoft is most likely going to add more vehicles in the starter pack, so definitely keep an eye out for that, guys. I will also be doing a video on the Cayman as well. I think that car is $8 as well, so we're going to have some pretty interesting vehicles here that might end up resembling some old Summit cars, which is definitely not going to be a bad thing because the Gold Edition was by far one of my favorite vehicles in the entire game, and I have to admit, I would say the Pearl Edition is definitely going to be worth a look, but is this car actually worth buying for the $8? I really do feel like the Pearl Edition is going to come down to the person because this car is definitely going to be really cool, but I do feel like not everybody's going to actually want to spend $8 and buy this thing. But then again, if you don't actually have to buy the motor pass, at least you can get this thing and you'll get yourself some extra crew credits as well. But I do want to know what your thoughts are on this car in the comments below because I actually really like the Pearl Edition a lot. But I also think having this thing being $8 is most likely going to make a lot of players wonder if they really should buy this thing even if it's good or not.